Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And on this first episode of the week, this Tuesday edition, we're going to be talking about Trancers from 1984, directed by Charles Band, owner of Full Moon Pictures, which is still making movies to this day. If you haven't heard of them before, you might have heard of Ginger Dead Man, Puppet Master, and there's an Evil Bong, all the Evil Bong movies. Yes, so that is their legacy. This is very early in Full Moon's production run. I actually don't have much knowledge of Full Moon. I actually love that this podcast is going to give me the opportunity to kind of go through this stuff.
Yeah, I have almost no knowledge. I mean, of course, I've heard of them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know of the Puppet Master movies, and I haven't watched any of those movies, but I definitely have seen clips of Ginger Dead Man just because it's so ridiculous, because you have Gary Busey playing a gingerbread man. So it's just kind of, they kind of use a lot of really practical effects, stuff that it looks like puppets. So they definitely go for a more like ridiculous style, and I think they know what they are when they make these types of movies.
And I think fans of them, that's what they expect. They expect something over the top, but to see some really cool visual effects and or practical effects, and on a low budget. And Trancers here is a sci-fi movie, kind of a riff on. I took it as a riff on like Blade Runner mixed with Terminator. Definitely
Terminator, but I think this came out the same year as Terminator, so it's...
oh, you're right. Yeah, so it's definitely it's not really riff, unless it's...
I mean, unless it came out a couple... I don't know the exact release dates, but unless they were just aware that James Cameron was making Terminator, but...
Yeah, and they got like a leaked script or something.
It's probably just a happy coincidence, but
probably yeah, just something about like culture at that time was just thinking about the same things.
Yeah, but yeah, it definitely has all those future elements, and of course they have everybody like in really crazy outfits and hairstyles, and just like we've said in other movies where these people just assumed that 80s fashion was just going to be timeless, and that people in the future, like, this is how people in the future are going to have their clothes and hair.
That's what I love about 80s sci-fi is like it's just the future is the 80s. We live in the now, you know, like this is forever. It's really cool. And what's cool about this movie is it, like Terminator, it doesn't just take place in the future. It takes place in the 80s as well. So you get to see the best of both worlds. But you know, the movie opens with Tim Thomerson playing Jack Death. What an awesome name.
Yeah, Tim Thomerson. What an awesome name.
Tim Thomerson gets the name Jack Death. He probably could have just kept his real name and it would have been fine.
That just seems like I know that's his name, but that just seems like a name like you would make up, like if you're trying to tell a lie. It's like, oh yeah, me and my friend Tim Thomerson were. But yes, Jack Death is a ridiculous name.
Oh yeah, and he's a detective in the 23rd century, and kind of like Blade Runner, they have Trancers. That's who he is on the hunt after, and there's even like Blade Runner, a test to take to make sure that they're not Trancers. What I got out of it was Trancers was like a cult led by like this evil guru. He can kind of brainwash you into being some kind of zombie, and that's what a Trancer is.
Yeah, and this guy is trying to kill everybody a part of the like council or whatever that's like going on, and so and how he's doing that is he's going back in time and killing their relatives or other people. So, but that's pretty much like the plot, is that he goes back in time to try to kill the ancient council members' ancestors.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre plot line. I kind of love it though, because it's just so weird. Because like he has a baseball card. He's looking for a old baseball player who's like homeless now, and that's a huge part of the plot line, is him hunting down this baseball player through his baseball card.
That I know. The lady just hands him a baseball card and just said, "Find this guy." And it wasn't even like he was like a big baseball player. It was just some guy.
Yeah. But yeah, so Tim Thomerson, Jack Death, gets transported back to the past, you know, to find this guy. And that's where like the real core of this movie is, where I really find it fun, is in the 80s whenever he hangs out with future Academy Award winner Helen Hunt in a very, very early role for her.
I was absolutely shocked to see Helen Hunt, and I've told you this before, but I actually had a picture of Helen Hunt hanging on my wall when I was younger. It was an autographed photo of her. I don't know why, but I just thought she was so cool, and I liked her a lot in Twister a lot.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of Twister in my life, so I get it.
I liked Twister a lot growing up as a kid, and I just have really specific memories of her in that movie. So I was really surprised to see her in this movie, and she is very young Helen Hunt in this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you'll be surprised to hear she's in the next two. There's 6 Trancers movies. She's in the first 3, and that third one I think came out in 1994, which is she was coming up in popularity. That was right before Twister came out, so kind of surprising.
Yeah, because I think that was probably around the time that she started doing like Mad About You or whatever, because Mad About You is where she got her big start, and that's like where people started recognizing her, I think. But yeah, that's crazy that she just had like such an involvement with this series all the way up until then.
And she's great in this. I think she's really like fun in this movie. I really had a good time with her. She has some really funny bits. The only thing I found weird about this movie was that Tim Thomerson and Helen Hunt have a romantic relationship, and the age gap was a little too big for me to like not feel a little gross about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, so he's probably, I don't know, probably like what, in his like 40s or something like that. But I'm looking here at his like age, what he would have been. He would have been like, I don't know, it says here about 38 okay. He would have been, and then Helen Hunt would have been 29. So I mean, that's
actually not bad. Maybe Tim Thomerson just has like an older look to him.
He looks really old in this movie. He does. Yeah. He looks very, it's maybe just the makeup and hair and all that they did, but he's got like gray hair, lots of wrinkles. He got scars all over his face. So he definitely looks like a haggard, like somebody that's been through a lot. So he definitely looks like he's like in his early 50s, maybe.
Yeah. But no, that's how I felt. But now that you put it in perspective, it's actually not too bad. But what a wild romance they get, because Helen Hunt originally is in love with his ancestor, and then they fall in love, Jack Death and her, and she's like, oh, you're so much better than him. I'm pretty sure she says that at one point. It's like, wow, I like you so much better. Can't you stay? That's like really messed up.
Were they actually in love, or was it more kind of like...
Was it a one-night stand or something?
That's what I was wondering. I thought they were it was more like she was like a one-night stand, and like they woke up the next morning and then he started acting really differently. Because remember, because this is a Christmas movie, so when they show up to the mall and they see the mall Santa, and she's trying really hard to like get away from him, and she's like, did I give you my number? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, good. And then she walks away. So
it definitely was a one-night stand.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But still, it's a bit odd because, spoilers for an old movie, but it ends with, like, him staying in the past. So his ancestor is effectively erased from history. That person does not exist anymore.
Which I thought that ending was, like, it kind of gave me a little bit of a trip. I'm like, that's kind of messed up, because this guy, because they don't explain what happens to your mind when somebody takes over your body like that. So does that mean that this guy is mentally captured in his body, or does he aware that Jack Death has taken over his body, or
oh my god,
is he just effectively dead?
That you just implied something really scary. I couldn't imagine, like, he's just like in his brain, he's able to see and feel everything, but Jack Death just has control. That is a horrible fate to live. And then Jack Death, of course, is just like, I'm staying here with you, Helen Hunt. I love you so much.
I know. And
Yeah.
so it's because, at one point he gets sent back to the future.
Mm-hmm.
So it is implied that his ancestor does take control of the body again.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's dead. So that makes me just think he's just aware of all this stuff, and maybe he's just like in a mental prison.
Yeah, exactly. That's awful. Well, he comes back and has sex because that's the joke, right? Is that Jack Death is about to have sex with Helen Hunt. He gets sent back to the future and then comes back and it's post-coitus, and he's like, damn it. Why did you have to do this to me?
Yeah, he said, well, I guess you've had fun again. So,
yeah, this movie's actually kind of funny. I was really surprised. It actually got some genuine laughs out of me. One of my favorite jokes is the one where they're eating Chinese food together, Jack Death and Helen Hunt's character. And she opens up a fortune cookie, and the bad guy's name is Whistler for whatever reason. She's like, oh, there's a message in here from Whistler. But at one point she says, I'm going to get you and your bitchin' girlfriend.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? All right.
He's like, my bitchin' girlfriend. And
yeah.
So, oh man, there's lots of really goofy lines in this movie that I wrote down. Another one was they went to the diner scene in the very beginning of the movie, and Jack is there. He's like, I want the coffee. I want the good stuff. I deserve it.
Yeah. That's going to be expensive, right? That's what the person says.
Another one is so his ancestor, Jack Death loves slicking his hair back and having this wet look hair, and his ancestor, when he takes over his ancestor's body, he's got dry hair and it's all kind of combed properly and everything, and Jack Death puts gel or whatever and slicks it back again, and he just says, dry hair is for squids.
Yeah, that's something that comes up a lot. They call people squids, dumb people, pretty much. There was a dumb line that I just thought was funny, was when she's like, oh, I brought beef chow mein, and he just says, beef? From a cow? Just a dumb fish out of water line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one, and then another one I remember too was, so like I said, they go to this mall Santa, and she plays the elf helper or whatever, usually at the mall Santa, and she has blue hair. She has a streak of blue hair in the movie, and the kid asks her, is why do you have blue hair? And she says, oh, it's so cold on the North Pole, turn my hair blue.
Yeah.
Just really stupid lines like that, but
yeah. And she has this blue streak the whole movie. People bring it up a lot. I couldn't even tell she had a blue streak for a good chunk of the movie. It is very light.
It's very light. You can't see it unless a certain light hits it, really. But it makes me wonder. I was like, I wonder if she just kept that blue streak up for the other movies, now that you say that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I may have been spoiled on what happens in the third movie, reading Wikipedia, but it sounds like it gets a little crazy.
The whole series is just ruined for you now.
I know. What am I gonna do when I go through the Trancers franchise? So another thing I like about this movie is it's very, very low budget, and you can tell, but it seems like they really maximized it. The future sets, the whole council building has a really cool, shadowy look to it. The lighting in there is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell it's low budget, but it never gave off the impression they were trying to do too much. As we've talked about this before, it's just working within your means type of thing, and I think they did that well. I mean, it didn't really I never really got the impression that it looked cheesy or anything like that.
No. I was actually surprised by how much I actually enjoyed this movie. It's kind of the fare that we like, or that we come upon on this show. So it's as good as the others, but it was enjoyable. I had a fun time. It made me laugh. I caught the mood of it all. It has really dumb moments, like a slow-mo bullet. It invented bullet time, just to pull that out.
Right. Well, I'm glad you brought that part up because
Yeah.
that part didn't make any sense to me. So when he did, so he has this ability where he could slow down time by hitting this button on his watch.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they say, I think, is like for every second, it feels like 10 seconds or something like that. But anyway, when he does it, he has all the time in the world to do whatever he needs to do. So he takes, like, there's one scene where he's encountered by Whistler and his people, and he freezes time, and he takes Helen Hunt away, and they get away. But he takes time to stare at Whistler, and I'm like, why don't you do something?
You have the time to do it.
You have time to like stare at him and try to intimidate a frozen man. So why can't you just kill him, like, or whatever? And
yeah,
because that's all he had to do was just get the little syringe thing, and it sends him back to the future. So
yeah, and like it sets up like, and he has two, because that's like the big predicament at the end, right? It's like, oh, I only have one of these, so I can't send us both back. At this point, he had two to send them back.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He had two, because it doesn't break until the very end of the movie, and he has to make the decision of if he's going to go back to the future or not. So
he didn't have to like be in that predicament if he just did it then. Yeah, it seems like the slow-mo bullet was just for like a really cool couple of scenes, but they didn't think about like what it would do for the actual plot, right?
Yeah, but there was one I did think I did like was at the very end where Helen Hunt gets thrown off of a building, and he uses the slow-mo to hit that, and he's at the top of the building. He's able to like run down the stairs and catches her before she falls and hits the bottom.
Yeah, I did like that. I thought that was pretty cool. One weird Helen Hunt, like she wears like a Confederate jacket for a good chunk of this movie.
Yeah.
Was that chic? Was that just in, because they're in LA? This is set in LA, so I don't know. I mean, it's a different time,
I guess. I mean, Dukes of Hazzard was popular like 10 years before, maybe it was like kind of vintage at that point.
Yeah, it was like, ooh, I was a big Dukes head. I don't know.
I guess, but it's just of its time. You probably wouldn't see too much of that anymore, but I guess depending on where you live, but
that is true. Yeah.
So they find the baseball player. He's homeless and everything like that, and he stinks so bad they have to like force him to take a shower. And they even said like, how about you taking a shower? And he's like, no, I'm good. And they basically say like, no, take a shower.
Yeah, they have to force this dude to take a shower.
So he's a baseball player, so he's got a really good pitch and everything like that. So there's one point where Whistler is hanging off the ledge of a building, and the baseball player is just doing like a perfect throw of a bottle and hitting each one of Whistler's hands so that way he falls. And Whistler, and you can see him falling too into the fountain. So I mean, there's no cutaway. You can actually see like a guy falling.
Yeah, like an actual stunt. Yeah, this homeless encampment scene is really funny because there's like cops chasing after Jack Death in there, and at one point he pretends to be a homeless person, like just laying around. He's like, "Ugh, get away!" And the cops just are like they're like, they were a little suspicious, but then they're like, that's not him. Let's get away, because he pretends to vomit. And they're like, I don't want to deal with this guy.
To be fair, he does look like a homeless person.
He really does, yeah, with that big jacket and his gross hair.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so one other funny thing, too, I could think of was they go to the club or like a bar or whatever, and they're just kind of dancing and having fun. And the musician or whatever music they were playing was horrible. It was awful.
I'm forgetting what song they were playing right now, but it was like a nursery rhyme, right? It was like a punk version of like singing like not Mary Had a Little Lamb, like the ABCs or something. It was like really just like awful.
I don't remember, but it was, I just remember the singer was terrible. It was just somebody screaming out the lyrics, and it was bad.
Yeah. But of course, Helen Hunt thinks it is bitchin', and Jack Death and her sing. There's a nice fight scene in there, of course. Let's see. I love it because I'm looking really quickly. I like how Wikipedia describes Lena's character as like introduced as a punk rock girl Lena. I guess I didn't quite get the vibe. Maybe the blue streak just says it all. I'm sure in the 80s, 84, a blue streak in your hair was like, whoa, oh my God.
If you get a blue streak in your hair, you're automatically into punk music.
Wow, you're such a punk. You love hearing nursery rhymes at a rave club because like
you got your blue hair, your Confederate flag jacket, you love punk music.
Yeah, you're an absolute punk. There's a lot of cars in this movie, a lot of LA streets, bright, sunny. God, what a cool looking movie. It's got a really great aesthetic.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I didn't love the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. It wasn't any it kept my attention just enough to not be boring.
That's good. Yeah, no, I mean, I had a surprising amount of fun with this one. I feel like I'm a sucker for sci-fi, so it just really hit that like sci-fi bone for me.
Yeah, I mean, the aesthetic is just great. I mean, it's if you love 80s movies like this and sci-fi, I think you'll really enjoy it. I mean, it's not, it's a fun time. Maybe have a couple friends over and watch it. It'd be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And then go through all 6 of the movies, right?
So is he in all of those movies? Did you look?
So he's in the first 5, and then the 6th one, it looks like he's in it, but with archival footage, which is odd because the man's still alive to this day and still acting. So I don't know.
So did they just get a completely new cast for that movie? I mean, when did the 6th one come out?
2002. That is.
Oh my God!
Yeah. It looks like. Trancers 3 came out in 1992, and then Trancers 4 and 5 came out in the same year, 1994, and then 6 didn't come out till almost 8 years later. Seems like a weird cash grab, but looking at this, yeah, it looks like a completely different cast.
I mean, I guess it's just higher. I think, it's just kind of one of those studios, Full Moon. I mean, there's like 100 Puppet Master movies or something like that.
It's up there because there's like spin-offs and everything. So 6 for them there's like a ton of Evil Bong movies, right? Like they just like pump them out. Jack Death does actually make a cameo in an Evil Bong movie. That's actually that's Tim Thomerson's last appearance as Jack Death.
So that's like his signature character. I mean, that's like his most well-known role.
It really is. I don't know what else has Tim Thomerson done. I mean, looking at his filmography, it looks like he's just
that looks like his most famous role, honestly.
But no, yeah, it's definitely something. I'll say that it is something. I enjoyed it, but I think that about wraps it up. We'll see. I might be willing one day just to put Trancers 2 in there, see where we go with this. I've heard Trancers 3 is the best in the franchise, so maybe one day.
Have you? Okay.
I actually have. I have heard that.
I'll take your word for it.
But Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Nathan, it's time. This is going to be our biggest episode yet. 2 Titans finally squaring off. It's going to be Toho's biggest movie yet, King Kong versus Godzilla.
Wow. Damn, I saw that last year.
Yeah. Let's go back. Let's go back about 50 years and do the 1962 version.
Gotcha. The 1962 version. Okay, can do.
That one, I don't believe it's available on. I think it might be available on HBO Max, but we're of course digging into the Criterion Collection, and the Japanese version is actually available on YouTube. So if you do want to watch the Japanese one, but Nathan and I were probably most likely going to be talking about the English and Japanese version. But if you want to follow along, that's how you can do it.
Yeah, and if you have any memories with Trancers or King Kong versus Godzilla, be sure to send us an email over at drivein-doubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow us at DIDFpod over on Twitter. Ryan keeps up with that. For any new episodes, whenever they release on Tuesday and Thursday, they'll pop up right up there for you. Well, until next time.
Until next time.